disembodied voice. Give us the first game!
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons.
All right. Right now at BetMGM, Tampa's laying 1.5. The over-under sitting at 47.5. So whether it's a side, whether it's a total, maybe you got some action on a player prop, or you are getting absolutely dangerous and building a same-game parlay, what is your bet in Falcons and Buccaneers? Yar!
All right, best bet here is going to be the side for me, and I like Atlanta. So right now, Atlanta, like you said, down to 1.5. I like the money line, plus 120. I think they win this game outright. Some sharp money came in on the under where it went from 48.5 down to 47.5. I couldn't take an under in this game. I'm only on Atlanta so far. I'll probably add a couple props, maybe some Bijan props, throw them in a touchdown parlay. But talked about this the other night. You know, Atlanta, even last year with Kirk Cousins torched this Tampa secondary. And I think Michael Penix is going to be an upgrade, man. I know it was only a 3-game sample size, but I like what we saw from Drake London. His numbers got better, and Bijan Robinson. And they always play Tampa tough. 5-1 against the spread the last 3 seasons. And like I said, I feel really good about Penix behind center, Bijan, Drake London. Maybe finally this is the year that Kyle Pitts does, I don't know, anything. The issue for Atlanta has been the defensive side of the ball, especially the pass rush. Last year, just 30th in pass rush grade. But I like their draft. You know, even if they did reach to move back into the first round for James Pierce Jr., I took a stab on him to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Jalen Walker, they take him in the first round. And I think they're going to be able to get pressure on Baker, you know, with Tristan Wirfs out in this game. No Chris Godwin in this game. So give me Atlanta on the money line at home, plus 120.
Yeah, I think it's a good call there, and I think this game's going to be a high-scoring affair. If I had a lean on one of the traditional sides or totals, I kind of like the over on the 47.5 in this contest. I think they combined for over 100 total points in their 2 affairs last season and over 1,700 combined yards. Fireworks could be flying down to the ATL. My favorite bet kind of plays into this ideology. Michael Penix, give me the over. 234.5 pass yards at a minus 115 juice. Now, he got 3 starts last season, only went over in 1 of 3. A guy that ranked an atrocious number 48 in adjusted completion percentage, but he was number 2 in average depth of target, so really taking his shots down the field. Now, Darnell Mooney, with that shoulder setback, is listed as questionable, but got in some practices this week, so he's training in the right direction. Of course, got Drake London there, and who the hell knows what version of Kyle Pitts we're going to see, but we also know that Bijan Robinson is going to be highly active as a receiver in this game. You throw in the fact, too, that Tampa is projected to be a bottom 10 in the league secondary according to Pro Football Focus. They only ranked number 19 in drop back EPA defense a season ago. It's a great matchup. I think Penix starts off hot, so the former Husky is going to earn his sausages. Give me the over. Michael Penix, 234.5 pass yards at a minus 115 juice. Let's move on to the next game.
The Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns.
All right, the battle for Ohio. You want to talk about fireworks flying. This one has all that kind of expectation and possibly more across the board. So many glorious player props available at our disposal right now at BetMGM. Cincinnati is favored by 5.5. Hoping to actually start the regular season off on the right foot, unlike the 2 previous years. And the over-under in this game, identical to Tampa and Atlanta. It's sitting at 47.5. So whether side, total, player prop, same game parlay, what do you like in Browns and Bengals?
So this could change before we get to Sunday. And I know they let everybody down last year against the New England Patriots as an 8.5, 9.5 point favorite against Jacoby Brissett. But I'm going back to the Bengals in Survivor. I don't know that they cover this game. I'm not betting the side or the total, but I am going to take the Bengals. I think they get off to a quicker start this year. Fingers crossed. My favorite bet, though, it's went up a little bit. It opened at 34.5, minus 114. Now we're at 39.5, 40.5. I'm fine with anything, around 40. Cedric Tillman, we talked about this a lot, man, over the summer. He became a bigger part of the offense in week 7 last season. Played 80% of the snaps 4 games prior to getting hurt. And He had 8 grabs for 81 yards, 7 for 99, 6 for 75, 3 for 47. And that was all with David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy on the field. So I'm really high on him coming into the season, especially with Joe Flacco behind center and going against this Bengals defense that should be improved with Al Golden taking over as defensive coordinator. But last year, 30th in success rate, 27th in EPA per play allowed. So I just don't trust that they're going to be that improved. So give me Cedric Tillman over 39.5 receiving yards, minus 115. Maybe my favorite prop bet of the weekend.
Ooh, from your lips to the fantasy god's ears. I'm in a 14-team league. It's crazy deep. I have multiple flexes. I have to play Cedric Tillman this week in week 1, so I'm praying
Let's go, baby.
that your optimism shines through. A very underrated player. I think he could definitely rack the yards with Joe Flacco under center. Who am I going to get down with? Of course, my dude Chase Brown. We're going to be chugging all the maple syrup from the product, or for the product from Canada. Again, I've given this prop out, I think, numerous times already this week here on BetMGM tonight, so let's quadruple down. 70-plus rush yards. I grabbed it a few days ago at plus 105. Right now, last I saw, I think it's like minus 115 or minus 120 on that alt market right now at BetMGM, and I would still play it. Now, he went over in one game, but under in the other against Cleveland Browns last season. First matchup, 15 for 44. No bueno. But the second one, 18 for 91. You look at the Cleveland Browns, they have the 7th best projected defensive line according to Pro Football Focus, though there have been some investments and hopefully, fingers and toes crossed, improvements on the offensive line of the Bengals. You look as well, Chase Brown, a guy who was pretty efficient last year, doesn't really get enough credit for that. He was top 20 in yak per attempt, top 20 in total missed tackles force, probably going to get upwards of 85% of the opportunity share. The staff has already come out and said, we have rebuilt the entire ground game around the former ILL standout in Chase Brown. He's going to get the ball to the belly early and often, and I think the dude is going to absolutely ball out. Must-start material clearly in fantasy. That's why you probably shelled out maybe a second-round pick to acquire his services. I think Chase Brown gets at least, 17, 18 carries in this one, and what should be a positive game script for the Bengals. He'll salt away the clock and get over the necessary threshold here, which is 70 yards at a plus 105 juice. Disembodied voice. Next game!
The Miami Dolphins, the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, Miami, Indy, the ponies of the Circle City, laying un punto. For those of you that do not speak Spanglish, that's 1 point. Over-under setting at 46.5. Weather side, total, player prop, same game parlay. Horvat, what do you like in Dolphins and Colts?
All right, so I'm going to go with the player prop here, man. Thank God for sports betting, or I will not be able to watch this game. No, I mean, I could watch this one. Week 1, the Dolphins should be exciting. We'll see what we get from Daniel Jones. I'm looking right now at Josh Downs' alternate numbers, and you could get, right now, 50 yards is plus 108, 70 yards is plus 280. I bet the receptions over 4.5, minus 140. I would ladder these all the way up to like 6 or 7. I like the way he closed out his season. He had 10 grabs in Week 18 against the Jags. Granted, that was a terrible secondary. But I think he's going to get off to a fast start here. Last year, the Dolphins were ranked 6 in too high rate, 52%. They play the too high shell. And last year against too high, that's where Josh Downs really went off, man. He had a 32% target per route run rate, 1.98 yards per route run. All the numbers are really good, and he's probably going to line up against a rookie nickel corner and a converted safety in Jason Marshall Jr. You look at his last numbers, his final numbers in college, not all that great. So let's go with Josh Downs, over 4.5 receptions, minus 140. I'm also probably going to ladder that all the way up to 7, though.
All right, I like that, especially with a more accurate quarterback there under center and Daniel Jones. Remember, he was top 10 last year, believe it or not, in adjusted completion percentage. Where was Anthony Richardson? Dead stinking last. That's why he's riding the pine, folks, because he can hit the Jolly Green Giant on a shallow cross. All right. Oh, you hear that pony there in the background? Yeah, it's a workhorse. That's Jonathan Taylor. The Clydesdale is going to get fed in this game. Give me the over on 17.5 rush attempts at minus 125. This number has actually come down. Open at 18.5. I still would have been the over on that as well. He was numero uno last year, an opportunity share among all NFL rushers at 88.4%. So really kind of old school in what he brings to the table, and that's a whole lot of action between the tackles. He averaged 21.5 rush attempts per game last year. He hit the over on 17.5 rush attempts in 10 of 14 contests. Now, I look at Miami. One of their strengths on defense is certainly got to be in the back end because they may have one of the worst secondaries in the league, and ultimately that could really tax the talent they have up front. They are projected to be a top 12 defensive line in the NFL this season. They were respectable, number 14 in rush EPA defense as well last year. But again, I think they're going to be exhausted by the end of this game because Daniel Jones should have some success. Maybe those connections there with Josh Downs, as you mentioned, and it's going to have a positive trickle-down effect from one Jonathan Taylor. So give me the over 17.5 rush attempts at a minus 125 juice. Let's move on to the next game.
The Las Vegas Raiders, the New England Patriots.
All right, Patriots and Viva Las Vegas. New England laying 2.5 right now on BetMGM, but over-under sitting at a not-so-hefty 43.5. Side, total, player prop, SGP. Give me another wager, Horvey. Give it to me.
Oh, yeah, we got a big bet in this game. I wanted to wait and see if we could get to 3, and I think there were some 3s like minus 115 juice, but I'm cool with 2.5. I think the Raiders are actually going to win this game outright. I'm just not ready to crown the Pats like everybody else. Great offseason. Love the Mike Vrabel hire. They spend some money on defense. They try to fix up the offensive line. But I really like the offseason more for the Raiders, man. They replace Antonio Pierce with Pete Carroll, even if he's pushing 80, a much better option. Chip Kelly comes over to call plays after winning the Natty last year at Ohio State. You upgraded the quarterback position with Geno Smith. You upgrade your backfield with the best back in this class and possibly a generational talent in Nash and Genty. You have maybe the best tight end in football in Brock Bowers. We're both really high on Jacoby Myers as wide receiver number 1. Yep. The concern is the defense. Can the defense hold up? They were bottom 5 last year in EPA per play, but they do have Max Crosby, and I don't fully trust this offensive line yet of New England, man, right? Like, Will Campbell is beat up already, and he's an undersized rookie even if he is out there. Morgan Moses was their biggest addition to the offensive line. And again, they're going against Max Crosby, a top 5 pass rusher in this league. Even the Raiders defense, when they didn't have a whole lot of talent, they always played hard for Antonio Pierce. I think they're going to do the same. I feel like everybody's going to be on New England, not me. I like the Raiders in this game plus 2.5. I think they win it outright.
Harvey, you know me all too well. I like a quality añejo. That is a fine pour of the love juice, a.k.a. tequila. Mas tequila, por favor. Or I like wagering on certain narratives. And one of those certain narratives is what? The revenge game! And that's certainly attached to one Jacoby Myers. You adore him. I'm head over heels in love with him as well. I spent a pretty penny on him in a few auction/salary cap drafts in fantasy leagues this year, including the Kings Classic that I drafted at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio back in early August. I think I shelled out like $18 for him, and it was late in the draft when people were starting to run out of money, and thankfully I had enough to get him. I love the over on 50.5 receiving yards for him. That gets his former employer there in New England at a minus 115 juice. Now, of course, Myers was demanding, hey, somebody trade me, get me out of this hellhole, or pay me. Neither one of those happened. So he's very motivated by money, and that's going to lead, hopefully, to positive performances on the field. He was number 18 in contested catch rate last year, number 2 among all eligible wide receivers in total route wins, and number 21 in expected points against, an EPA also known as. Going to see a lot of Marcus Jones in coverage. It was subpar last season in the 60s, according to coverage grade is tracked at Pro Football Focus. And Myers went over 50.5 receiving yards in 11 games a year ago. So whether he's working out of the slot or occasionally lining up outside, this could be like a 7 to 10 target kind of contest for him. And he's got a more efficient quarterback under center. Geno Smith, believe it or not, was number 8 last season as a member of the Seattle Seahawks and adjusted completion percentage. So slamming that upgrade button over Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. So Jacoby Myers over 50.5 receiving yards, minus 115. My play there in Foxborough. We got a hell of a return to start this game, though there are all kinds of flags down the field. We're going to see if this holds up. Could be at midfield for the Kansas City Chiefs, which would feed into your belief that they're going to come out and open up a can on LAC, but we're going to find out what this flag is momentarily. As they're sorting that out, we got to move on, and it's a hold to the next game.
The Arizona Cardinals, the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, very good, disembodied voice. Thank you very much. Shockingly and seemingly sounding like Brando, our EP, a man that can wear multiple hats here on BetMGM tonight. Arizona right now, minus 6.5, with an over-under of just 43 down in the Crescent City. Side. Total, same game parlay, or my favorite little player prop action. Horvey, what do you like? And Cardinals and Saints.
All right, if I'm going to lose a bet this weekend, other than, me fading your Illini, I hope it's this one because I do have James Conner on my fantasy squad, so I hope they just feed the beast. But I'm going to go under 16.5 rush attempts, minus 110, and I'm going to correlate that with Trey Benson over 22.5 rush yards, minus 115. James Conner talked about this, said he kind of wants it to be a 50-50 backfield workload. I don't think that's going to be the case, but even if it's 70-30, man, they should beat up on the Saints. I don't know that they cover. I hope that they do. I'm pretty high on Arizona this year. I have them over 8.5 wins. Also have them making the playoffs at plus 150. But, the Saints have had a bottom 10 run defense the last 3 years. Even if it's a 70-30 split, I think if they're up a touchdown or two, Trey Benson's going to get some late work. And I just don't know that you're going to give James Conner 17 carries in this game. Even last year down the stretch, the final 10 games of the season, he only went over 16.5 carries in 4 of 10 games. So Conner under 16.5 rush attempts, minus 110. Trey Benson over 22.5 rush yards, minus 115. I lean Arizona, but I feel like everybody's going to be on Arizona.
Oh, man, I got my Xavier Worthy carry, but went for no gain. Hopefully he's got to get another one in this contest. Almost an instantaneous cash for your boy on the second play of the game. But a nice tackle by the Chargers defender limited him to nothing. So hopefully Andy Reid's going to find a creative way to get him the ball in a rush situation again. All right, the Cardinals and Saints. I'm going to go with the same game parlay on Alvin Kamara for both legs. Leg numero uno. Alvin Kamara 4+ receptions. Oh, and Xavier Worthy looks like he's hurt now.
No.
Oh, just wonderful. They're working on his shoulder. Oh, they may be popping it back in. He looks very uncomfortable there on the sideline. Oh, that's no bueno. Okay, developing situation already down in Brazil. And leg numero dos, correlate Southern Jazz, bring it all together. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara, 25+ receiving yards. That works out to a minus 125 juice. With Spencer Rattler, last season, Kamara averaged 5.3 receptions per game, 34.3 yards per game through the air. So a guy with a dink and dunk quarterback who could be ultra busy in this game, especially if it's a negative game script. Remember, he was number 2 in route percentage last season, 55.6%, and number 9 in yards per route run. I feel really good about that one. Time to get after it with the next game.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, the New York Jets.
All right, Steelers-Jets, the lowest total on the board this week is in this game at 38.5. Steelers are laying 3 currently at BetMGM. Side, total, same game parlay. Feed me a winner, Horvey. What do you have?
Yeah, I want nothing to do here with the side or the total, but I usually like to bet on Aaron Rodgers when he has a chip on his shoulder, see the MVP season after they draft Jordan Love in the first round. That ticket comes home. Rodgers that year wins 13 games, or the Packers do, I should say. But I don't want anything to do with the side or total, but I do think they're going to throw the rock around a little bit, even with Arthur Smith calling plays. So let's go Calvin Austin over 2.5 receptions, plus 120. Last year, he came on from week 12 on. He had the 5th highest rating when targeted, caught 80% of his targets. Aaron Rodgers has brought him up a couple different times. And they need somebody to fill that role. I mean, there was a rumor that Aaron Rodgers was making phone calls pretty much trying to make a trade for Romeo Doubs. But he sees a tough Jets secondary, obviously, on paper. But the Jets, the one area you can't attack them is the slot, especially Michael Carter, who last year had a 47.9 PFF coverage grade, which ranked him 68th out of 72 qualifying slot defenders. That's primarily where Calvin Austin's going to line up. So short number, let's go over 2.5 receptions, plus 120.
Ooh, I like that plus money getting seduced by the juice, to say the least. Travis Kelce is on the board. Just caught his first pass of the game.
No.
I believe it was 12 or 13 yards. That was followed by a 5-yard penalty. But Kansas City already at midfield on this drive, but 1st and 15 for them. Again, we'll keep you up to date. 7 minutes ago. There's Juju. Catch number 1 for Juju Smith-Schuster. Not a significant game, but it's still a grab. And again, I think he's going to be the guy to benefit most with Xavier Worthy out. That was a 6-yard gain for Juju. So only appropriate. We're talking Pittsburgh and the New York Jets. His former employer, that Juju right there on the news catches a pass in real time. I'm going to live and land down under on a puddle jumper, and that's Breece Hall. And I'm going to take the under on 45.5 rush yards in this contest at a minus 110 juice. We've been hearing the rumblings throughout all of training camp, throughout all of August, that Braylon Allen's going to play a significant role in this offense, and I am kind of buying into it. What is the exact distribution of touches going to be? My best guess, probably going to be 60-40 split, Breece Hall to Braylon Allen. But Breece Hall is going to be a busier man, I think, in the pass game than as a runner. And you're going against arguably the most formidable defensive line. They are ranked number 1 entering the regular season according to Pro Football Focus. They're in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on top of that as well, the Steelers only allowed 11 running backs to go over this number last season. It's a low threshold of 45.5. Hall, rather subpar in some of the advanced analytics categories as well. 21 missed tackles for us last season, 24 in yak per attempt. Put all together, I don't think he gets out of the 30s on the ground. So give me the under. Breece Hall, 45.5 rush yards at a minus 110. Let's move on to the next game.
The New York Giants, the Washington Commanders.
All right, Giants Commanders. I think this game is going to be a little bit more entertaining than some people believe, at least on the surface. Commanders laying 6 right now at BetMGM, over under at a decent 45.5. So again, side, total, player prop, SGP. What you got in G-Men and Commanders?
I actually think the Giants are going to be a little bit more competitive this season than the market. I haven't bet over 5.5 wins, but that would be my lean. I got 2 bets that aren't going to be popular ones. I'm going to take the points with the Giants. I think they could have a top 5 defense, especially that pass rush. Love Abdul Carter. Love Thibodeau. They got a bunch of studs on the defensive line. And I think Russ will play all right the first couple weeks of the season, man. He's got some weapons, obviously. Malik Neighbors, even though he's a little bit beat up, it appears. But I got 2 bets. Giants plus 6. Early season divisional dogs, 130, 66, and 6. They're covering it at a 66% clip. Not the biggest trends guy, but that's one I like. And then let's go. Russell Wilson's rush yards got bet up from 8.5 to 10.5. The under's minus 140, but I don't care. I know he went over this number in 6 of his last 10 games. He's going to be sitting in the pocket, even against this Commanders D. So Giants plus 6, Russell Wilson under 10.5 rush yards, minus 140. Those are my 2 plays. You could parlay those together if you want.
All right, a name you're going to hear out of my mouth once again, Chris Rodriguez, folks. Put some damn respect on the product out of Kentucky's name. Could be a breakout performer in week 1. Yeah, believe it or not, no, it's not Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I think really the guy that's going to steal the show is Chris Rodriguez, and also over Austin Eckler. It's going to be a full-blown RBBC. I'm not saying he's all of a sudden going to get out of nowhere like 20 touches in this game. They're going to remain in that platoon platoon, I think, for the entirety of the season, but he's going to get meaningful touches. And I think he's going to get at least 8 to 10 carries on the ground, which means he's cashing the over on 28.5 rush yards. That's all that threshold is right now at minus 115 at BetMGM. Again, he was number 5 in yak per attempt last season among running backs with at least 35 rush attempts. He was numero uno in missed tackles forced by percentage at 40% on a per touch basis. You look at some of the projections that are out there. Rachel Dory's got him right around this number. I saw some other guys have him a little bit higher than that. So you look at the Giants, number 6 in projected defensive line ranking this season. They're going to be rather formidable in the trenches, but with a dual threat quarterback really grabbing and seizing the attention of the defense, Chris Rodriguez is going to have opportunities to find those holes and blast through them, and he's dropped some weight and gotten faster. Love the over on C-Rod. 28.5 rush yards at a minus 115. Let's move on to the next game.
The Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, Jacksonville laying 3.5, over under at 47. Spoiler alert, I'm on the over, but that's not going to be the bet I am sharing in this segment. So side, total player prop, SGP, in the Battle of the Cats down in Duval County. What do you like to make you some Dolores, mi amigo?
Yeah, I got a big bet in this game. I like the Jags at 2.5 on the open. I don't want to give that out at 3.5 because I could easily see them winning this game, 31-28. That way your over hits. I think they could win this game only by a field goal, and then you lose on the hook. So what I'm going to do here is give out a player prop instead. But I love the Jags this year, over 7.5 wins. Took a stab on them to win the division, and my favorite player prop season long, Trevor Lawrence over 21.5 touchdown passes. But I'm not going to go with the touchdown passes. Instead, I'm going to go with an anytime touchdown for Trevor Lawrence, plus 430 to get it done with his legs. So Jacksonville this offseason or this summer was one of the teams that voted against a ban on the tush push. And Liam Cohen has talked about this, man. He said, this is a quote, "I do believe in quarterback sneaks. We do have a push variation. Obviously, the rule is what it is. We have a bigger quarterback, blah, 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 blah." Now, I don't know why you would run any type of quarterback sneaks with Trevor Lawrence because he struggles to stay on the field. But I think there's a good chance, man, if they get down to the one, especially because I really need Tank Bigsby this week to get in the end zone. They'll probably screw us all over. Quarterback plunge, quarterback dive with Trevor Lawrence, a little tush push. Plus 430 is a crazy price. So I'll take a stab with that, but I do like Jacksonville to win the game outright as well.
Oh, you already brought up the guy's name that I'm going to mention. Let's take it to the bank with Tank, as in Bigsby. Anytime touchdown at plus 145. That's juice I simply cannot resist. I got certainly seduced by it, to say the least. He's a guy I wrote about in my athletic column today. I think he is going to be an active member in early down situations and predominantly a guy that is going to get the ball in his hands in goal line situations. And I think this team is going to live in the red zone and have opportunities to knock at the door of 6. So I like Tank Bigsby quite a bit. Again, a guy that was ultra efficient last year, number 3 in yak per attempt, number 11 in missed tackles forced, and he only had 168 rush attempts. I look at Carolina, woeful, historically bad on the ground last year, number 32 in rush EPAD. They gave up 21 touchdowns, 21 blackjack, folks, to the running back position. Maybe a little bit better. According to Pro Football Focus, number 28 defensive line in the regular season. Put all together, the Jags should be able to shove and push them around, and Tank just breaks tackles. Love him. Anytime touchdown at plus 145.